What's up, guys? Welcome back to today's episode of The Sports Sermon. We are brought to you by Scooch, the most functional phone case on the market. Check out ScoochCase.com to get yours today and use the code SPORTS18, sports with a Z, of course, to get a 10% discount on your order. Stay tuned till the end for a special Scooch giveaway as well. But now, today's episode. So we're here today to talk about college football, but specifically the Big 12. This is the last Power 5 conference we're doing. Honestly, I'm not going to be surprised if Dan puts out an FCS podcast later, but who knows. I think this is the last conference that we're doing. And then on Friday, we'll have our college football playoff episode where we'll talk about the Heisman. We'll talk about, obviously, the college football playoff, who wins each conference. We'll review all of that, breakout teams, sleeper teams. Dan will probably tell us who's ranked in the FCS in 2005. Speaking of Dan, that's what I'm going to say. I'm here with Dylan. I'm Jason, obviously. And then with Dan, he literally can tell you anything you want to know about the FCS, college football Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA. I'm sure I could ask him who's DePaul's long snapper, and he would tell me who it is. I could ask him anything. That is the college football guru himself, Dan Majors. Dan, I'm going to let you take this. Just run with it. It's your squad.
All right. So thank you for the warming intro.
You're
right
welcome,
there,
of course.
Jason.
Who is DePaul's long snapper?
Okay, yeah. Shout out. No, I'm just kidding. So we're going to start with Oklahoma. We're going to go in order of the Big 12 standings from last year. So Oklahoma went 12-2, 8-1 in the conference, won the Big 12, and lost to Georgia in the Rose Bowl. They returned 12 total starters, 6 on offense and 6 on defense. Their key losses include Baker Mayfield, Orlando Brown, Mark Andrews, Emmanuel Beal, and Obanya Okoronkwo.
Yep.
So, Oklahoma, they lose a lot of talent, including 4 All-Americans. Does this concern you?
So you look at the 3 All-Americans on offense. I had to remind Dan of the 4th All-American earlier, so I had to make sure we put that in there, that Dan making this outline slacked a little bit. Forgot about my boy Agbonya. But yeah, so the 3 guys on offense, Baker Mayfield, Orlando Brown, and Mark Andrews. Baker Mayfield to Kyler Murray is one of the best replacements for a Heisman you can ask for. Orlando Brown, you're not losing much. The group has 103 career starts. It'll definitely still be one of the nation's best. And Mark Andrews goes to Grant Calcaterra, who comes in as the replacement. He's a sophomore. He isn't as athletic as Andrews, but he won't need to be. Marquise Brown could be the best wide receiver in the country, and he started the 8th game of the season. He transferred from Kentucky, and he's fast. That dude can fly. I love him, but all in all, they have great replacements for these guys. I'm not worried about them.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma still has the most talented all-around team in the Big 12. I mean, with missing those All-Americans, though, it's going to be a big deal if they want to try to get back to the playoff. I mean, they'll still be a solid team, but that to get to that next level, they might need some guys to step up. And
Yeah.
I think Marquise Brown's that dude that will step up. I think he's going to have a heck of a season. I really think he's one of my guys I think will win the Biletnikoff Award that people aren't really talking about. I really like him.
Yeah, I think their offense will be perfectly fine, and that's what had them winning games last year. So, but everyone is worried about Baker Mayfield being gone. Jason mentioned it earlier. I don't think this will affect the team that much, as Kyler Murray is a stud. I mean, he's probably the best replacement for a Heisman. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably the best replacement for a Heisman-winning quarterback we've seen in a long time. He's up there forming Heisman talks. So, yeah. But as for other positions, they're still maybe the best offense in the country, like I just said, if I'm right about Murray. Mark Andrews, I think he'll be missed, but Marquise Brown is still there. And then Orlando Brown is gone, but Ben Powers, Andrew Samia still lead a top 5 offensive line in the country. The defense definitely concerns me, though, in the national picture.
Good thing it's the Big 12.
Facts.
They don't play defense. It's fine.
Their front 7 loses 3 key guys in the Okoronkwo, DJ Ward, and Emmanuel Beal. Their offense no doubt carried them last year, but might need even more of a carry this year with those guys gone. So I like Oklahoma a lot. Defense could struggle, though, early. Offense will be fine.
I mean, their schedule's easy enough where they should be fine. I mean, Florida Atlantic, Lane Kiffin might come in and upset them, but I don't think anybody's thinking that's going to happen.
They're hot as...
I know. They're probably one of the hottest teams in...
I think they have the longest win streak.
Right? I have to say, they're one of the hottest, if not the hottest. UCLA's down. At Iowa State's their first tough game, and then after that, they've got until Texas. So, I mean, they have a pretty easy beginning of the schedule to get going, but, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about Oklahoma.
That's who we're on.
Are they a national title contender?
Yeah, they are a legitimate playoff contender, and it all comes down to Kyler Murray, wow. If he's as good as advertised, I'm buying the Sooners, and I've said it all along. If you're in the playoffs, you're a national title contender.
That's not true.
In the college football playoff episode, I do go back on that, and I have.
Okay.
Just for these episodes, I mean, if you make the playoffs, you're a title contender.
All the teams in my playoff are national title contenders, but
they're not for me. But stay tuned till Friday.
What?
Bum, bum, bum. Go, Dylan.
All right. I mean, I'm gonna agree with Jason. I think that any playoff contender is a national title contender. Just a little bit less of a chance that they win the national title, but I think Oklahoma has a small chance to be that good again because they lost all that top level talent.
That'd be crazy if Baker leaves and they win the national title.
Yeah,
I kind of love it.
I
kind of love it.
And Kyler Murray wins the Heisman. How great would that be?
I don't know if he wins the Heisman. I don't know. I think Rodney Anderson's the guy that people sleep on so much. Not that he's going to win the Heisman.
You'll see Kyler Murray, dude.
I agree, but I'm saying I think Rodney Anderson's going to be the workhorse of this team. Where it's not going to be Kyler Murray having to throw 50 touchdowns. I think he's going to be doing his job, and he'll probably throw 38, but he's not throwing 50. And so I think. But also, I guess I say that, and then I'm like, who is going to win the Heisman? I have no idea.
Exactly.
So I guess that's
this
fair.
Race is so open this year. It's insane.
It's Jalen Hurts, actually.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. After his comments this past week.
Yeah, that was crazy. Anyway, stick on Oklahoma.
So, yes, they are a national title contender for me, and my only one from the Big 12. I only have 8 teams that are talented enough and experienced enough to win the national championship.
Make you run through it again? I've made you run through it everyone.
I have it actually down because I knew you would ask.
Let's do it again.
Okay, so Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Clemson, Washington, Stanford, and Oklahoma. 8 teams.
The only team.
Stanford.
So you told me this last night.
Stanford.
You told me this last night, and I was doing it for the graphic that goes on YouTube, and I wrote down all of them but Stanford. Dylan hit the nail on the head. Why Stanford?
We'll get into that in the college football.
You suck. All right.
So, Oklahoma. Let's give me your record standings prediction for the Sooners this year.
So I have them 11-1. I have them losing to Texas in the Red River rivalry. They finished Red River rivalry. Sorry. I have them finishing second because they lost to Texas, but I do think they beat them in the conference championship and are 12-1 at the end of the season.
Do they make the college football playoff?
Stay tuned to the college football
episode.
Yes, they make the college football playoff, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think so. I can go look right now.
See, I've made all these predictions.
Exactly, I have to go back and back them all up.
I might not have a very good team making the playoff.
It's Clemson. Let's ruin it right now.
Okay.
It's Clemson. Dan does not think Clemson should make the playoff. He's
no, I do think they should.
Hater.
Okay.
Yes, I have Oklahoma as the 4th spot in the college football playoff to answer your question.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are 11-1. They also lose to Texas, but I'm not as high on Texas, so I don't think they play them again. We'll get to that when we talk about Texas, though.
Wow, so many teasers out the wazoo today.
So I have Oklahoma at 12-1, 8-1 in the conference. They finished first, lose to Texas, but then they beat them in the Big 12 championship.
Top here.
Jason talked about earlier. I just want to mention Rodney Anderson. Mm-hmm. He's one guy to look out for this year. Everyone is talking about how great Wisconsin, Stanford, Alabama, and Georgia's running games are, but everyone forgets about how great Rodney Anderson is. He was in Baker's shadow last year, and I think he could be in the spotlight this year.
Random thought on Rodney Anderson. He's a junior. Plays well this year. Does he leave or does he come back for another year? Then you got Kyler Murray and Rodney Anderson, both potentially seniors. Is the team going to be even better next year?
I don't think Kyler Murray's coming back next year, though.
Yeah,
I don't. In the MLB draft?
Yeah.
Go play in the MLB, not the MLB draft.
Yeah, I don't think he will. He's listed as a junior, but I think this has to be his last year.
So then if he leaves, does Rodney Anderson leave? You think he has to, right?
I mean,
There's no reason to stick around and then go 8-4 or whatever.
I mean, Oklahoma's still going to be a solid team.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's something. For me, I look at those two as a package deal. If Kyler leaves and Rodney Anderson's going to be a good enough running back, maybe he leaves also. Or if they stay, I mean, heck, they could be better next year than they are this year. And we both have them in playoff conversation.
Yeah. But I don't think Kyler can stay. So
because of baseball or what?
Because of baseball, yeah. He was drafted last year.
So, I mean, he can stay if he wants to.
No, I think he has to go this next year. I'm not 100% sure on that.
I mean, it really sounded like he was going to play this year,
and
then that's what all the things.
But if he balls out in football and a team wants him, though, will he still play baseball? Has he made that? Has he said that? I could be wrong. Does he say he wants to play baseball or football? I'm just saying in general. Baker Mayfield got drafted number 1 overall.
Yeah,
but calm down, buddy.
Definitely better passer than.
What I'm saying is, say Kyler Murray has a hell of a season, he wins the Heisman. I mean, Lamar Jackson went first round. Like, say he's got
his agent says that.
What's it say?
His agent says that Kyler's baseball career has a very defined path, which includes playing football at OU for only the 2018 season.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, will he play football if he goes
No,
really good, or is he focused on baseball?
I mean, I think he got a $4.66 million signing bonus with baseball, so.
You also make a lot, you make a lot more money with baseball, and it's a lot safer path. So
I understand all that. I'm saying, has he come out and said he's not playing football no matter what? Next year, that kind of answered it, I guess, because you say he's going to play football 2018 season. That was my question: is he going to play baseball for sure? But all right,
all right. Let's move on to the TCU Horned Frogs. As last year, they went 11-3, 7-2 in the conference, second in the Big 12, and beat Stanford in the Alamo Bowl. They return 11 total starters, 5 on offense and 6 on defense. Key losses include Kenny Hill, Matt Pryor, Austin Schlottman, Travin Howard, and Nick Orr. So they are by far the best defense in the Big 12, but can their offense keep up with the Big 12's best?
So the offense in 2017 disappointed and didn't live up to expectations. I'll use Phil Steele's projections for the stat. He had them projected at 37 points, and they were down to 33. So with that being said, I look at the squad this year. Could they surprise people? And for me, it all comes down to the running backs. Can Darius Anderson keep up the production that he had when Kyle Hicks got injured? It all comes down to him offensively. The O-line is very young, very inexperienced, so Anderson's going to have the ball to keep them competitive.
Yeah, I mean, I think this offense is just really a year away. I mean, they have a lot of talent, but just not a lot of experience. So I can't buy the Horned Frogs yet.
Yeah, the main question for me is whether this offense can keep them in games. Because if they do, I know that this defense can win them games. But they lose a lot of key guys on offense like Kenny Hill, 3 out of their top 5 receivers, and 3 out of their 5 offensive linemen, including Matt Pryor. So I question experience, but I mean, they do reload with 4-star recruits, so hopefully, I mean, they can figure it out pretty quickly with a meeting against Ohio State in Week 3.
Yeah, that'll be a fun game to watch. That, and then they go from Ohio State to Texas, so 2 primetime big games right away, and they're both away. Neither of them are home. So yeah.
So give me record and standings prediction for the Horned Frogs.
So I have them 8-4. I have them losing to Ohio State, at Texas, Oklahoma, and at West Virginia. I'm finishing 5th in the Big 12.
I also have 8-4, losing to Ohio State, West Virginia, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. They finished 4th for me.
You're beating Texas?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I have 8-4, 6-3 in the conference, tied for 4th. They lose to Ohio State, West Virginia, Oklahoma, and Texas. Same thing as Jason. Yep.
Wow. We know who didn't do their research today, Dan.
What?
Looking off of mine.
Looking off of yours.
Cheater.
Yeah.
So far, you're 2 for 2 on exactly what I've said. I don't know.
Okay, it's definitely going to change. So.
Yeah, we rarely agree. This is crazy.
All right. Any last thoughts on the Horned Frogs?
Let's move on to the Cowboys.
All right. Oklahoma State. They went 10-3 last year, 6-3 in the conference, finished 3rd in the Big 12, and beat Virginia Tech in the Camping World Bowl. They returned 12 total starters, 5 on offense and 7 on defense. Key losses include Mason Rudolph, James Washington, Brad Lundblade, Zachary Crabtree, DeQuint Osborne, Chad Whitner, and Trey Flowers. So they lose their best players in Mason Rudolph and James Washington. Who do you see replacing them as their best player on this team? Like, basically, when you think of Oklahoma State this year, you'll think of this player.
One name, Justice Hill. I love his game. He's going to be a workhorse back this year, and I can't wait to watch him. There are so many good running backs this year, and Justice Hill and Rodney Anderson are 2 guys that should be in that conversation, even though they get slept on. I see them right up there with the Bryce Loves, the Jonathan Taylors, all of them. I love those 2.
I don't quite put Hill in that category, but I mean, a year ago he rushed for almost 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, and the inside of the offensive line is still intact. But for me, it's just a lot of trouble in the passing game. Just leaves them without the firepower to compete in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, I also say Justice Hill will take over that reins. It's like when I think of Oklahoma State, I will think of this player. He had over 1,500 yards rushing last year and will have a very increased role with their passing game just basically gone. Also, another player to watch would be Jalen McCleskey. If Taylor Cornelius can be pretty solid and get him involved. So, give me your record and standings prediction for the Cowboys.
I have them 8-4. I have them losing to Iowa State, Texas, at Oklahoma, at TCU. and finishing third in the conference.
You think they beat Boise?
I do.
I have them at 7-5, losing to Boise State, Kansas State, Texas, Oklahoma, and West Virginia, and they finished 6th in the conference.
Yeah, they lose. I just think they lose too much talent on both sides of the ball to get back to 10 wins this year. My ceiling is 9-3, but I have them at 8-4, 6-3 in the conference, tied for 4th. I think they lose to Boise State, Texas, Oklahoma, and TCU.
So you have them beating Iowa State, and I do not. That was the difference there. All right.
All right, let's move on to West Virginia. As last year they went 7-6, 5-4 in the conference, finished 4th in the Big 12, and lost to Utah in the heart of Dallas Bowl. They returned 12 total starters, 7 on offense and 5 on defense. Key losses include Justin Crawford, Al-Rashid Benton, Kaiser White, and K-Ron White. How high are you on Will Grier? He's a stud. So how high are you on him, and how far can he lead this team?
I mean, he's the best QB in the Big 12, and one of the guys NFL scouts that they'll be watching the most. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks. I mean, that's pretty obvious. They've got 6 returners with him offensively and an improved defense. I think this team will compete with Texas, TCU, Oklahoma State for that second spot in the Big 12 championship, and I can't wait to watch Grier play. Also, I think David Sills is a guy that people don't really know about. He's a guy that I also have in my Belenkoff Award finalists, so check out his name. And don't let him go under the radar too much for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, I'm also pretty high on Will Grier. He should put up plenty of stats with West Virginia's terrible defense. And, I mean, they're going to go as far as he takes them. He should definitely be a Heisman contender this year, though.
Yeah, Will Grier, he's definitely a true Heisman contender. And this is arguably the best passing game in the country. David Sills might be my leader for the Blitnikoff Award. Like Jason said,
I tweeted this guy cheated.
I did not. Trust me, I did not. I did all this on my own. Anyway, he led the Big 12 in receiving touchdowns last year and should have a great season. Stay tuned for a bold prediction later in the show. With Grier, Sills, and Jennings, I think West Virginia can definitely compete for the Big 12, and they're on the bubble for me, putting them as a playoff contender.
Oh my!
I am worried about their running game with Justin Crawford gone, but I like the improvements on the defensive line. That was no doubt their worst unit last year. They had 2 transfers in Jabril Robinson and Brennan Thrift from Clemson and Penn State. That's going to be huge on their defensive line. So let's get into record and standings prediction for West Virginia.
I'm 8-4. I'm not that high on them. I worry about the running back a lot. Will Grier's great. Geno Smith was great at West Virginia, but you've got to have a running game. They're too predictable if not. I have them at 8-4, losing to Iowa State at Texas, at Oklahoma State, and then home for Oklahoma. They've just got tough games. All their games are on the road that are tough except for Oklahoma. And I mean, I barely had them beating NC State, but I did. So 8-4. I could see a ceiling of 9-3, maybe 10-2 if Alex Sinkfield does surprise us as a redshirt freshman, being able to carry the workload offensively with Grier. But I mean, I don't think the record matters that much. I could not care less about how well they finish. I worry about Will Grier and how does he look for the NFL, personally. That's what I'll be watching when I watch the Mountaineers.
See, I like the Mountaineers this season. I have them at 10-2, only losing to Iowa State and Oklahoma, and finishing second in the Big 12.
Yeah, I'm not too high on Tennessee or NC State this year, so I'm not worried about their non-conference. I am a little worried about Iowa State. You guys mentioned you have them losing to them because it's just tough to win there. But the Cyclones...
Kyle Kempt is a star when it comes to upsets.
Yeah, but the Iowa State does not have very good defensive backs to keep up with Grier. After that, they could very well end up being undefeated heading into Texas in Week 10. If that's the case, then I think they pick up at least 2 of their last 4. So I'm going 10-2, 7-2 in the conference, finishing 3rd in the Big 12, losing to Texas and Oklahoma.
I mean, I don't know. I think Kyle Kempt is a guy that gets slept on so much. He led his first start. He upset Baker Mayfield. Like, I don't know. I mean, I love him. It's home. That's the problem is that Iowa State gets so many good games at home. Like, they've got good, and so that's why I like Iowa State. Like, I don't think they're going to be a contender for this division, but Iowa State's a team that can upset a lot of teams. I
just don't think their defensive backs can keep up with the best passing game in the country. So,
you think in the country?
Name a better one.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like Sills and I like Grier, but I don't know if Grier's going to be able to keep up. I mean, like, Grier, I don't really care about his stats. That's what I was saying. Like, I don't know if he's going to blow us away with stats as much as he might just look like an NFL-ready quarterback. That's something
I think he's at least 4,000 yards this year.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think there are there could be. I don't see them that high. I think Oklahoma could have a better offense in general than West Virginia's, and so that's why I don't see West Virginia as high as you guys do. But like we said, it all comes down to group, and I think for me, what's he look like projecting to the next level?
All right, let's move on then. Kansas State. They went 8-5 last year, finished 5-4 in the conference, and tied for 4th in the Big 12. And then they beat UCLA in the Cactus Bowl. They returned 13 total starters, 8 on offense and 5 on defense. Key losses include Jesse Ertz, Byron Pringle, Will Geary, and DJ Reed. So let's talk about Kansas State. Give me your record and standings prediction for them. What do you like about them?
So in 2014 and 2016, Kansas State played the exact same Big 12 schedule, and they went 9-4 both years, and they had 11 and 12 returning starters that year. Well, Dan, you just said it. They have 13 this year. That means they're going to be better. Except for not. I don't think they're going to be that good. I just thought that stat was interesting because it's funny that they have that exact same schedule and a similar amount of returners. For me, I still have them at 5-7. Their schedule, I think, is just brutal. Their team is not as strong as it has been in the past. The losses are Mississippi State. Dan, I know you love Nick Fitzgerald. At West Virginia with Will Greer, who Dan also loves. Texas, Oklahoma State, at Oklahoma, at TCU, and then Iowa State. I'm finishing 8th in the Big 12.
So what's the difference between those 2 years?
I don't like the quarterback play. That's the big thing. I don't like Alex Delton. Really? I think he's fine. I think he's a bit overhyped. I don't love him. And then, I don't know. For me, Bill Snyder, he's getting very old. Very, very old. I mean, we all know that. And so I think, is it too much to ask? I mean, they looked good in their bowl game against UCLA. They beat them like 35-15 or 17 or something. They looked really good there. And teams like to pick up as they finish. But for me, I worry about who's going to step up when they need it. Yes, they have a lot of returns, but they don't have any stars returning. Jesse Ertz was a baller.
And he was out for like the last 8 games of the year.
I liked him so much better than I trust Alex Delton.
Really? Because I think this is one of the best quarterback units in the Big 12. So.
I do not.
Dylan, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think their O-line is good, but the skill position players just all around are too young. Mm-hmm. And the defense should be solid, but not enough to carry them. I like them at 6-6, losing to Mississippi State, West Virginia, Oklahoma, TCU, Texas Tech, and Iowa State.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about Ertz being gone. He was out for the last 8 games, like I just mentioned. Thompson and Delton both look good, but Delton went off in the bowl game, and I expect him to keep that momentum heading into the season, have a solid year. I think he starts most of the games this year. And, they're definitely one of the best quarterback units in the Big 12. I have them at 8-4, 6-3 in the conference, tied for 4th in the Big 12. I think they beat Texas. 2 interesting stats from that. The home team is 14-4 in all meetings, and they've alternated wins the last 6 years with Texas winning last year. Yeah. So
I mean,
all signs pointing to Kansas State beating Texas.
But see, you said quarterback units. I don't give a poop how great their unit is. I don't care about their backup. I don't trust their starter. Yes, their backup is probably just as good as their starter, which makes their unit great. But when neither quarterback's that good, I don't think they're that good of a unit.
But they are good.
I would take Kyler Murray over that Oklahoma unit over because Kyler Murray is.
Too.
Well, you said one of the best. I'm just saying. I would take Sam Ehlinger and Shane Buechele over them. Come on now.
Those are
not even close.
You
to
sleep on Alex Delton.
I'm not actually. He had one good game against UCLA.
You are sleeping on Alex.
No, I like Skylar Thompson more than him. Alex Delton had one good game against UCLA when UCLA did not care at all. They had a new coach. Jim Mora was gone. I think that game got way too overblown.
I mean, Delton just totally went off in that game.
Against a team that could not care less. That is definitely something you have to watch out for when
Skylar
it comes
Thompson
to bowl
looked
games.
Like crap in that game.
Yes, he had a bad first half, but once again, I don't care about the bowl game. That's
you
one
don't care
game.
about the bowl game.
But UCLA did not care at all.
All right, well, I'm going to believe in Delton this year, and he gets back.
Skylar Thompson beat Oklahoma State on that upset. He definitely looked good.
No, I totally agree, but you just said,
I don't care about the bowl game. UCLA did not care. That doesn't matter to me. Okay. We all know UCLA did not care. That's not debatable. Jim Mora was fired. They didn't, though. Watch the game. They did not give 2 shits about how they played.
All right, well, anyway, I'm just going to believe. Okay, but if that's the case, they didn't care about the bowl game. Skylar Thompson still looked bad.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look great, but, who cares? Like that's what I'm
Is
saying.
this
This
a
bowl
team
game
that
is
didn't
not that
care
big of
about?
a deal. Like he upset Oklahoma State. That means more to me than beating a UCLA team in a bowl game where they were very unmotivated. That's all. That's why I like.
Very
I don't like
unmotivated.
either though. I don't like Thompson or Delton. Like I'm not like, ooh, I want Thompson to play. They always lead him to 9-3. Like both guys are average at best.
All right, look out for Alex Delton this year, or maybe even Skylar Thompson. Anyway, let's move on to the Texas by Horn. Oh my gosh, Longhorns.
The Texas
Why
Horned
did
Frogs.
I was just
Nope.
thinking the Horned Frogs. Wow. Okay, Texas Longhorns. Very sorry, Longhorn fans. Anyway, so 7-6 last year, 5-4 in the conference. Finished tied for 4th in the Big 12 and beat Missouri in the Texas Bowl. They returned 14 total starters, 7 on offense, 7 on defense. Key losses include Malik Jefferson and Poona Ford. So Texas should be pretty solid this year. They're being hyped up a lot. Is Texas a legitimate Big 12 title contender?
Yeah, they are. I don't care if it's Sam Ehlinger or Shane Buechele. Ehlinger looked really good last year, and Buechele was called the most accurate player that Coach Herman's ever coached. The wide receivers returned 5 of the top 8, and this offense is going to be rolling this year. I love Texas.
I don't think so just yet. I love the defense. They should be shut down and keep them in games, but I really just can't buy the offense, though. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Ehlinger or Buechele, and no clear running back either. So, I mean, they should be a solid squad, but
Yeah.
I don't know yet about the offense.
Yeah, so I say yes, and a playoff contender also. I mentioned earlier that if TCU's offense can keep them in games, then their defense is good enough to win them. Well, Texas's defense is very close. I mean, I think it's a very close second to TCU, and their offense can win them games too. I love Colin Johnson in this passing game as a whole. Sam Ehlinger, along with everyone, now has a year under Herman, and I think they should compete in every game they play. So let's talk about record and standings prediction for the Longhorns.
I have them going 11-1. I have them being first in the conference and losing at Texas Tech to the Red Raiders. Remember last time they lost to Texas Tech? 2008? That wasn't the last time, but the big loss to Texas Tech. I watched that video a few days ago. Dan and I always watch a bunch of college football hype videos. Wanted to shout out that game. They lost to the Michael Crabtree catch, one of the best plays.
I don't think they want to hear about that.
I mean, Texas Tech fans are also listening, so shout out Red Raiders there. Like, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm all in on Texas. I love them, and I loved Colt McCoy those years, so I like Texas a lot. But I just thought I had to bring that up when I had them losing at Texas Tech.
See, I think they'll be a pretty inconsistent team like they were a year ago. I think they pull off a couple of big upsets in USC and Oklahoma, but lose to Kansas State, TCU, and West Virginia. I have them at 9-3 and 3rd in the Big 12.
So you think they can beat USC and Oklahoma, which are both early games? You think like they beat both of them within the first half of the season, and then they I feel like if they beat those games, they've got to be rolling by the time that they.
I mean, I could definitely see this offense fizzling out again. I'm not really buying it this year.
Shane Buechele's a baller. If he doesn't start, Sam Ehlinger looked really good last year. I don't know. I'd buy the quarterback play.
Yeah, so I'm at 10-2. I can definitely see 9-3 though, because they were just so inconsistent. They have to take a step forward though. So 10-2, 7-2 in the conference, second in the Big 12. They beat USC and Oklahoma, then lose to Kansas State and Iowa State. They've lost 7 of their last 8 home finales. So I see them losing to Iowa State, and then I mentioned earlier the stats about Kansas State. So yeah, so I think Texas gets 2 losses there. But 9-3 is not, and 11-1 both aren't like unrealistic. So
Yeah, I love Coach Herman. I absolutely buy everything he's selling, so I'm really a fan of his.
yeah, last year he actually came in. He was 3-0 versus top 10, 6-0 versus the top 25, and now he lost 3 to the top 10 and 4 to the top 25. So now he's 3-3, 6-4.
Yeah.
But yeah, he should be a lot better.
I mean, his teams were terrible when he came in. That's the thing. His teams were not very. When Herman came to Texas, it was not his class.
Well,
Charlie Strong sucked, and so I think you gotta give Herman a few years. He's got his recruiting class. I like Herman a lot. I'm a big believer in him down in Austin.
no doubt.
I mean, he was really close in some big games.
Yeah,
I mean, USC 2 overtimes.
That's your thing.
Oklahoma only lost by 5. Oklahoma State lost in overtime. So
Those net close losses, dude. That's.
Dan
Yep.
loves close games. It gets him up in the morning.
I mean, look at Notre Dame from 2 years ago.
All right, Dan. This is a Big 12 podcast. No one cares about Notre
Hey,
Dame.
I'm just trying to prove my point. But
Remember
okay.
the Bush?
That literally is like so out there. So
Yeah, but
random.
you just bringing up Notre Dame.
No, we were talking about how net close losses affect the team, and you just bring up the Bush. Like, okay, whatever. Anyway, let's move on to.
You're so mad about.
No,
the
I'm not
Bush
even
push.
mad though.
It's a trigger word. The Bush push triggers.
I mean, like you just triggered all of Texas.
I did with the Michael Crabtree catch. Yes, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to trigger every fan base throughout the podcast.
Yeah,
I just had somebody yell at me on YouTube about being a Raider fan, even though I make it very clear in the Broncos episode. I was replying to that as you guys were talking. So, I love triggering fan bases. It's the best. Come at me. I mean, literally, if you go to any of our YouTube episodes, like every single time there's someone yelling at me. I love it. I love the hate. Keep bringing it.
Okay. Let's move on to Iowa State. As last year, they exceeded expectations, went 8-5, 5-4 in the conference, tied for 4th in the Big 12, and beat Memphis in the Liberty Bowl. They returned 12 total starters, 6 on offense and 6 on defense. Key losses include Joel Lanning, Alan Lazard, Jake Campos, and J.D. Wagner. So, let's talk about Iowa State, record standings prediction for them, and what do you guys like about them?
Yeah, so sorry. Kyle Kemp has the clutch gene. I already talked about it. First career start, upset Baker Mayfield. I loved it. Their team's not that solid, but they're fine. They lost Alan Lazard, who is one of my favorite players. They're I have them going 6-6, losing to the Hawkeyes at Iowa, sleeper team this year. Oklahoma at TCU, at Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and at Texas, and they finished 7th in the Big 12.
See, I like this team. I think they're deep all around. Should have a balanced offense and has some solid pieces on defense that really came alive last season. So I like them at 8-4 this year. I think they lose to Oklahoma, TCU, Oklahoma State, and Texas.
Dang, 8-4. All right. They lose their best 2 players in Joel Lanning and Alan Lazard. I don't think a lot of people realize how big Joel Lanning really was. And their schedule, it's pretty tough. That being said, I think David Montgomery makes a name for himself, helps pull off at least one upset. But I do have them at 6-6, 4-5 in the conference. I think they beat Texas and Texas Tech, but lose to Iowa, Oklahoma, TCU, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's move on to the Red Raiders.
Yes.
Last year they went 6-7, 3-6 in the conference, finished 8th in the Big 12, and lost to South Florida in the Birmingham Bowl. They returned 16 total starters, 6 on offense and 10 on defense. Key losses include Nick Shimanek, Justin Stockton, and Kiki Couty. So,
Solid.
what do you guys think about Texas Tech this year? Give me your record standings prediction for them.
Their offense is always loaded. Nick Shimanek was not that good. Any quarterback that plays will be able to match his production. I like them as a sleeper team to surprise people this year. And shout out Coach Kingsbury. Definitely one of the best in the business.
Nick Shimanek was not that good.
No, I hated watching him play.
Okay.
All right.
I'm telling you, either quarterback that plays
Almost
will be
threw for
able to match
4,000 yards
Shimanek's
last
production.
year.
It literally is not an uncommon opinion that anybody that's going to play this year will be able to match it. Have you watched the Red Raiders play? Same reason Patrick Mahomes had crazy stats. Like, they air raid the ball. Any quarterback can do that in this offense. So, get off my butt. Cliff Kingsbury is going to be throwing. He's going to have his quarterbacks throwing like he does every year. I mean, shout out Cliff Kingsbury. He's the second most passing yards in Texas Tech history. So, I'm telling you, they're going to throw the ball. Either quarterback, whether it's McLean Carter or the other guy, are going to be just as good as Nick Shimanek. I love Texas Tech.
For me, I mean, I just don't think they have enough pieces around. Like, even if the quarterback play is good, I mean, the running backs and wide receivers are still completely new, not that experienced and not proven yet. I mean, they do have a few pieces coming back on defense, but this offense is just too brand new for me. I mean, I think they beat Ole Miss, Lamar, Houston, Kansas, and Baylor, and finished 5-7.
I think you guys are sleeping on a guy like Seth Collins, a wide receiver, a grad transfer from Oregon State. I think he's a guy that people aren't really talking about. He played quarterback and wide receiver. He's definitely got some NFL talent. Watch out for him.
All right. So their offensive line, I think, should be solid. They return all 5 and basically get everyone back on defense also. My concerns, though, are that they lose their top rusher, passer, and receiver. And even though they return a lot on defense, that defense was 105th in total defense. So I'm not too high on Texas Tech. I think they have to at least get back to 6 wins, though, with 16 returning starters. So all signs are pointing up or to the same. So, yeah, I'm 6-6, 4-5 in the conference. They lose to Oklahoma State, West Virginia, TCU, Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas State.
Yeah, I love Coach Kingsbury. I'm biased because he was the OC when Johnny was at Texas A&M, so I love him, and I just like the way he coaches. He's very laid back, but also gets to work. I really like KK.
All right. Let's move on to the Baylor Bears. As last year, they went 1-11, 1-8 in the conference, finished 9th in the Big 12, and had their most embarrassing season in program history. They returned 17 total starters, 9 on offense and 8 on defense. Key losses include only 1 in Taylor Young. The record and standings prediction, let's hear it from you guys, and what do you guys like about Baylor?
So Matt Rule inherited a brutal team last year, so I look at that year as a wash. I don't hate on Matt Rule for that. I really do believe in him as a coach. They have 17 returning starters, like Dan said, and I think Charlie Brewer will look better. He's more experienced in the system. This is how I have their season going. I think they start off 4-0. They start off hot, and then they go 0-8, and they finish 4-8. They just have a brutal tough to the finish because it's all the Big 12 teams that are actually good. So I don't think this team's ready yet, but I do not think it's time to give up on Matt Rule. I really do like him.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just really tough to see them beating any Big 12 team besides Kansas. So I think that's the only one they beat, and they finished 3-9. But
Do you have them losing to Duke, Abilene Christian, or at UTSA?
I think they lose to Duke too.
Gotcha.
So they now have a year under Rule and get a solid recruiting class. I think they have a shot at bowling this year, but that'd be way too big of a jump from a 1-11. So I don't think they do that. They do have some very talented players for a 1-11 team, though. Look for a player like Denzel Mims to have a great year after over 1,000 yards last year.
Yep.
So I'm at 3-9, 1-8 in the conference, finishing 9th in the Big 12. I think they beat Kansas.
I think everyone's beating Kansas.
Well, actually, I don't know. They returned 19 guys.
Oh, it's going to Kansas. Wow, look at that transition.
All right. Let's talk about the Jayhawks. Because last year they went 1-11, 0-9 in the conference, finished last in the Big 12, and won their opener, and then they lost their last 11. They returned 19 total starters, 9 on offense and 10 on defense. Key losses include Ben Johnson and Dorrance Armstrong. So let's talk about the Jayhawks. What do you like about them? And give me a record and standings prediction for them.
So they have the best quarterback in the college football playing running back in Khalil Herbert. It's Khalil Tate and Justin Herbert combined.
Okay.
So shout out Khalil Herbert.
Let's just ignore that.
But I mean, they still suck. They're terrible. But I think they beat Rutgers this year. David Beatty was not good because his team's not good. So, yeah, I think they're 2-10. They beat Rutgers, they beat Nichols, but they're still 10th and they're still bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only opportunity Kansas has to win any games would be their first 4. So
I think they win 4 games.
No, I think that's their only opportunity. I think they win 2 of them, Nichols State and Central Michigan, but
not Rutgers. You like Rutgers this year, powerhouse?
A little more than Kansas. So
Rutgers is solid. They'll probably be bold.
No,
I already talked about it. I want a 4-team playoff between Rutgers, Kansas, Oregon State, and Illinois. I said that's 2 teams from the Big Ten. Not sure the committee lets that happen, but I'd love to see a bottom 4. Or you do 2 or 3 of the worst teams and you put the best FCS team in. I'm telling you, it'd actually be interesting to see this happen.
FCS team would win.
All 3? You think they win the championship?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you're sleeping on Kansas. They literally have the best quarterback.
North
I just
Dakota
told
State
you.
beat Iowa.
That happens
Iowa.
one time. Like, yeah, the
Appalachian
FCS
State
teams do
beat
beat them, but I'm saying, like, can they beat them twice? Like, I think that'd be
Sure.
interesting.
Jacksonville State.
I wish
almost
there was a
beat
way we
Auburn.
can make it happen. I know that the games are close, Dan. I understand. Appalachian State beat Michigan on a blocked field goal. Like, I
And
understand
they come in
how
ready to
football
play,
works.
too. So
I
it's
know.
like-
That's why it makes it fun. You give them the worst Power 5 team and the best FCS team. You do 2 of each, and you see what happens. I think it'd be so fun to watch.
It's not going to happen.
I didn't say it would. I said I
No,
wanted
I'm just
to
saying it's
happen.
not going to happen. But
So feisty today.
what?
You're a feisty kid. Calm down.
Anyway, see, with Kansas returning 19 guys, I feel like they have to go up, but I just can't because they're just not that talented. So
Just
I
tell
have
them
them at
they're
1
bad.
and 11. If they didn't return 19 guys, I might have them at 0 and 12. Not gonna lie. But I have an 0-9 in the conference, finishing last in the Big 12. I think I have them beating Central Michigan, but they lose to Nicole State. It was ranked in the FCS and lost to Texas A&M by 10 last year. So look out for Nicole's.
You're still a sucker for the returners, even on a team like Kansas.
Kind of. I have them going to the
No, I know. You just said like you'd have them going over.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like that, yeah. Still got a sucker for the returners.
I mean, yeah, they return 19 total guys and have a lot of experience. But one player, though, to look out for is Joe Deneen. He led the country in solo tackles and had 22.5 tackles for loss last year, so he's definitely the best player.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye out on him.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's go into the Heisman contenders from the Big 12.
So I have 3 different tiers. Will Grier, likely Heisman contender. Kyler Murray, somewhat of a sleeper. And then Rodney Anderson and Justice Hill as extreme sleepers. I really like them. Those are the guys I think can make some noise.
Yeah, I think the only 2 true contenders are Kyler Murray and Will Grier. I can't see Justice Hill or Rodney Anderson getting into it.
Yeah, I like Will Grier, Kyler Murray I mentioned earlier, obviously, and then Rodney Anderson. But I think Murray would get it in front of Rodney Anderson, and then another dark horse would be David Sills. But Grier, I think, would also get it in front of him. So Rodney Anderson and David Sills still very talented players, but Will Grier and Kyler Murray would get it in front of him. So let's go into our bold prediction for the season. What do you guys got?
So mine is Texas goes undefeated in the regular season, but loses to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship, which then ensues the debate of how valuable the conference championship is. Do you put in a 12-1 Texas team that lost in the conference championship, or do you put in a 12-1 Oklahoma team that won the conference championship but lost to Texas?
Definitely Oklahoma.
Okay, committee. I think it'd be a debate. I mean, you're definitely going to have people saying that it should be Texas.
I don't know.
I mean,
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. It brings up the debate.
All right, so
I mean, teams have gotten in before.
That's my point. They haven't won the conference championship. That's my point. That's why I think it's going to be interesting. Alabama just did it last year. That's why I think it'll be fun.
Ohio State did it 2 years ago.
Exactly. You're making my point. Here's what
All
happened.
right. Go ahead.
I think Iowa State could make a big jump and get into the Big 12 championship. I'm a fan of the Cyclones.
How do they do it? What's the path to success?
Well, I mean, they have Oklahoma at home, so they would probably have to, and West Virginia too. So
Kyle Kemp's done it before.
They would have to win both of those 2 games.
Joe Lanning was a big player in that game too. You got to remember that. But go ahead.
Yeah, and then TCU and Texas. I mean, those 4 games are going to be the biggest for Iowa State, and like you guys said, they're big upset candidates. So if they pull off a couple of those, I think they could definitely win. The rest of their games are winnable.
Are they a playoff contender?
No.
Yeah, but I can see where you're coming from, Dylan. Matt Campbell, this might be the best team he's fielded so far with Iowa State.
Kyle Kemp.
So my bold prediction, David Sills breaks the record for receiving touchdowns in a season with 28. He had 18 last year. He's going to be a stud this year. Get to 28.
More than 2 a game.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Stud.
2.5 a game. It's crazy.
Against bad Big 12 defenses.
So he plays TCU and Texas.
And Oklahoma.
Lockdown.
I don't see it happening, but that's why they're bold.
There you go.
All right, so that's going to do it for today's episode. I mentioned Scooch in the beginning. If you go on ScoochCase.com and use the code SPORTS18, sports with a Z, I will boost that percentage up to 15% just for you. So make sure you go and check that out. Also, if you comment below, you'll be entered for a free Scooch case. So do that. Thank you for listening, and we will see you guys later.